most significant thing that you can do in post for professional dialogue is know how to use compression. So why compress? Well, dialogue is naturally spiky. Even as I speak, you are hearing louder and quieter moments. P's are notoriously loud, along with T's and other consonants, whereas S's can be soft and, in general, vowels less impactful. We're also expressive as we speak and naturally raise and lower our personal output levels as we talk. This is generally okay if you are just recording and using dialogue. But as soon as you mix recorded dialogue with something else, such as ambience or music, it can end up... Yes, compression reduces the dynamic range in audio and therefore makes dialogue more consistent and less spiky. So this example here is a raw recording of dialogue from the project I'm about to show you. And next to it here, this is the same dialogue compressed. You can see the difference, but it looks thicker. As you'll find out shortly, it also sounds thicker too. So when you first use compression, it will sound like the clip is getting a bit quieter, but actually what is happening is only the loudest elements that are being pushed down a level. The rest is actually the same as it was before. And by pushing the gain afterwards, pushing up the levels afterwards, your dialogue ends up much fuller, stronger, more consistent, and seemingly louder, without your mix levels actually increasing. So, how do you do it? Well, I'm using compression in Premiere Pro, and I will be applying compression to an entire track of dialogue rather than a single sample known as a clip or a region. So, that, what I've highlighted, is a clip or a region. There's lots of them throughout the project. But as you can see, they're actually on different tracks, and that comes out in a bit. So I'm going to apply it to the track, not to the region. There are several compressors available in Adobe Creative Cloud. I like the compressor built into the Dynamics plugin, which is this one over here. I'll show you this in a bit. It's less obvious in the menu because it's not called compressor. We've got things like single band compressor, multi-band. But I like the metering and I like the rotary controls. I'll show you shortly. Visually, it makes more sense to me than the single band compressor you see at first glance in the menu. Avoid the multi-band compressor until you know what you're doing, and avoid the true compressor on dialogue altogether because it will just change the characteristics of your audio. Now, presets might help you understand how a compressor works, but can urge you please not to use presets in your production because compression needs to be tailored to fit your work. Let's get to it. So this project is an interview between myself and synth pop legend Howie Jones. You might not have heard of him. We might see where this is heading, but if you want to see the complete interview, it'll be available at some point soon on my Human Legacy channel. Anyway, it was recorded with 2 lav mics, so I have close recordings of each dialogue. Always go prepared to interviews, either with a boom handler, so someone who knows what they're doing, they can swing the boom around so you get both dialogues on one take, but at least the mic is close to the source. Or by taking 2 close range mics, like the lav mics clip on your shirts. Having it all on one track with one microphone, particularly if that microphone is, say, just set up in the middle between the 2 people talking, is going to limit your options. It's going to invariably end up with an imbalance in the levels between those speaking. Also end up with lots of noise and that sort of thing. So in this case, I'm going to start off with my own dialogue. I'm going to play you a little bit first of all of how this goes with no processing at all. So, ladies and gents, I'm here in the studio with 1980s synth pop icon himself, Mr. Howie Jones. Jones. Very, very Welsh name there, isn't it? Yeah. I'm not going to give the whole game away just yet, but I'm going to start off with because I start off speaking first, I'm going to start off by working on my own dialogue here. So as you can see, everything's laid out in tracks, and my dialogue is on track 2. I call myself human because I am one. Typically, filmmakers from a visual background tend to drag and drop processes onto regions. like this. Okay, and that will show up in your effects controls as dynamics. And that's what it looks like. There's a problem with this. It's time consuming because you've got to apply it to all of the different regions separately. And you could end up with inconsistencies where one is processed slightly to the other. So by applying to the whole track, it's a bit like a guitarist with an effects pedal. So guitar goes to the amp, but in the middle, say you put a distortion pedal, that distortion pedal affects the whole sound. Whatever guitarist plays, it just affects it. So that's an insert. It's when you plug something in to the actual signal path, rather than applying dynamics to a region, jiggling it around, processing it, and then getting rid of the processor. Audio experts will advise you to keep all audio sources on separate dedicated tracks, like I've done here. So here I've got Howie on track 1, me on track 2, Crying on track 3. We've got 2 sources of music on 4 and 5. There was something on 6. Oh, more music, but I'm not using it anymore. That means I've got independent control now over those different sound elements. I don't have music and dialogue on one track. That's going to mess things up for me. So I'm going to use the audio track mixer for this next bit. It doesn't kind of appear in your settings by default when you first use Premiere. You've got to add it. So you add it by going to Window, finding Audio Track Mixer, there we go, and make sure that it's ticked. Don't get it mixed up with Audio Clip Mixer, which is also a very good piece of kit, but you can't do what I'm about to do with the Audio Clip Mixer. Use the Audio Track Mixer. This is what it looks like. Can you see I've named my audio tracks? I've done that in the mixer, and it's applied them to the tracks in the workflow as well. Now, to open the inserts, the bits where you plug the effects into the audio track mixer, it's this tiny weeny little arrow at the top here. You would just not think anything of it. So very insignificant, but you click on it and it opens up this wonderful world of adventures. This grey space is actually lots and lots of little boxes where you can insert things. So on track 2, there we go, human. And I'm going to add amplitude and compression. I'm going to use dynamics, I prefer it. Single band press got exactly the same parameters on it, it's just linear. Open up and that's what it looks like. Okay, so Dynamics actually has 4 different processors built in, which can be quite handy. We're just using the compressor, switch the compressor on by ticking it, and it means that now the audio's been passed through this set of parameters below. Where you place it in the audio chain doesn't matter at the moment because there's nothing else there, but bear in mind, if you are using other things like reverbs, EQs, that sort of thing, you need to decide where your compressor is going to go. If you put a compressor right at the end after reverb, then it's going to compress your reverb. You may not like that. You might want it the other way around, but you can move these around depending on what you want. All right, let's go through some of these parameters. First of all, threshold. This tells the compressor at what point it should start. This is saying -20. So when the audio reaches around about there, the compressor is going to start to do something. And what it's going to do depends on the following. Ratio is the amount of compression. Now, there's mathematical methods of working this one out. The numbers mean things. But all you need to know at this stage is that the higher you push this up, the more it's going to push those peaks down. That's all you need to know. I'm going to take the threshold down a bit, actually, for this to be effective. So now that I've done that, you should start to see things happening in the meter.
1980s synth pop icon.
See that moving there? Okay.
Mr. Howie Jones.
That's it switched off. That's it switched on. You can't tell much difference yet, but don't worry about that. So what's happening is as this red meter is moving, that's showing how much gain reduction you've got on those loudest points. It's pushing them down. Now, the other thing that's going on are these two controls here, attack and release. Attack relates to how quickly the compressor kicks in after audio reaches threshold. You may think, well, we've already told the compressor that is when it reaches threshold, switch on. But actually what it allows you to have is for a few of the spikes to actually push through before by slowing the attack, i.e. slowing down the way the compressor switches on. So if you get a few more milliseconds and a few will pop through and it stops your dialogue sounding like this, where everything is squashed, and allows a few bumps through. Release is how quickly the compressor stops or switches off after your audio falls below threshold. Now, what you want is for that to switch off as quick as possible so it's ready to compress the next bit. But sometimes you've got it very quick. You get this kind of surge in audio where the compressor switched off and the natural audio pumps through. So it's always good to have 50 milliseconds or so. If you're still feeling a bit of a surge, just increase that, but otherwise keep that as short as possible. So let's have another look now.
Very Welsh name there, isn't it?
So it's not sounding great yet. I'm going to give it a bit more.
So, ladies and gents, I'm here in the studio with 1980s synth pop icon himself, Mr. Howie Jones. Jones.
So as I switch on and off now, it actually sounds louder when I switch it off, which is exactly how it should be, because I've squashed the sounds down. But what we're going to do is use this meter. I think I saw it was about -9, -10. I'll just double check that.
Icon himself, Mr. Howie Jones.
Maybe -7, -8. So if I replace what I've lost down here, what's called the makeup gain, let's put 8 decibels in.
So, ladies and gents, I'm here in the studio with 1980s synth pop icon himself, Mr.
Without?
Howie Jones.
Gets lost by the music. Put it on. Pushes through the music.
Very Welsh name there, isn't it?
I know it sounds a bit crazy, but the levels haven't really increased, certainly not significantly. All I've done is I've made some of the quieter sounds higher. I've made it more consistent. I've made the sound fatter. And your dialogue should now sit much more comfortably in the mix, be more consistent, and be better heard over other sounds. So I would play this whole thing through, but I've got to process the whole video. But if you do want to see where this is heading, please go and visit my Human Legacy channel. There's some new music on there, some DJ bootlegs, short films, some videos, that sort of thing. It's one of my creative outlets, so please do have a look at that. Also, please subscribe to this channel. It will help me enormously. But that's it. Hopefully that's helped you with how to apply and why to apply compression in Premiere Pro.